are here, and Chandan Singh, he has made his film in Rajasthani, and the name of the film is Roti, Koon, Banasi. The other film, Bramayugam, and the director of the film, Sri Rahul Sadashivan, is here. So, Chandan, I have the first question to you. Roti Kun Banasi, it's about how a father and son sees the idea of patriarchy. So, what are the elements you have used while portraying the differences in the perception of patriarchy?
Yeah, I think for me, the prime idea was how patriarchy propagates from one generation to the other, and most of the time it's from a father-son relationship.
Okay.
So for and ultimately women are the victim of it. But I wanted to look at through a male gaze and the kind of challenge a son faces while getting into the ideas of his own father. And to feel himself as a worthy son, he needs to accept the ideologies of his father, who is a very patriarchal person. So for me, that was one thing. And in Rajasthan, one of the things is that education is one of these issues, and women coming out to get jobs and stuff is still like in the early stages. I feel. So for me, I wanted to come up with a very simple situation where a son wants to prove his worth to his father, at the same time he wants to support his wife and who he chooses. And ultimately, what happens in the film that does come across, and it eventually makes you, I hope, empathize with the character and also how male people suffer through patriarchy as well, yeah, in some sense.
Thank you, Chandan. Rahul, in your film Brahmayugam, there are a lot of experiments from colors to dialogues, something like a 17th century Maya to the dialogues by someone like T.D. Ramakrishnan. How did you manage all these things in one film?
I wrote the screenplay initially, and the idea came as to have it in a black and white format, and then how to bring authenticity to the language that's spoken by the characters. So after the initial draft, I had to have another writer on board, who's TD sir, and then we wrote for a couple of months, and then I could get the dialect right, the language right, because it's a story that's been told during the 17th century. So something like that could help me.
Taking a cue from that, Chandan, how important that we should tell stories in dialects also?
It's super important.
Yes.
I find it like I come from Rajasthan and we are still on the very early stages of our own regional cinema. And even as of now, we don't have a native Rajasthani language. Let's say. We have multiple dialects, but I feel like cinema is one of those tools that helps you to document language of different regions. So for me, it was important, and me being a Rajasthani, I felt that's my root. So I wanted to stick to Rajasthani as a language.
Okay. So one more question to you: the casting, Mammootty, Arjun Ashok, and Siddharth. How it was easy for you to have this kind of a casting?
Uh, I wrote the script for
Okay.
so I had him in mind for a long
Okay.
time. Then as the pre-production of this project started, and I started looking for who can bring that subtleness in the antagonist. Later it turned out to be Siddharth Bharathan, who can be very subtle and then who can be very vulnerable. So I had to for the character Devan. Yeah, it was pretty. It was a fun ride working with the legend. So yeah.
Thank you, Chandan. Thank you, Rahul. Open to all. Okay. We will just see the trailer of the film right now, Brahmayugam. Yeah.
देखो बा जरूरत कट है आज आज की बात है पेपर देते हैं इस पर एक बजे रोड आएंगे मतलब 10 बजे ही चाहिए तो पापा जी सुबह बात करें
पुरानी परीक्षा दिलासी कुछ से तो नौकरी क्लियर हुई नहीं तो मोबाइल पर पैसे देने
काम खत्म कर बस पकड़ना था
अरे मैंने ठा तो पड़ी चाहिए कि क्या चीज है रणजीत सिंह देखिए तैयारी करानी है पापा जी, तो घर को सारा काम आ दो और उसको काम दो हैं? रोटी कौन बना सका की सब कबाड़ों कर रखियो पड़े रहा घर में जितना बड़ा छोरा वो घर संभाल करे।
Wonderful. Yeah. Now the house is open for questions. Rahul, yeah.
It's still, yeah. Why we make it in black and white, and what is the idea behind it?
It's still a valid format, and it's for the definitely for the artistic and stylized use for the story's narrative. I was excited initially to tell this story in this format because I couldn't see it in color at all. I can't still, if given another opportunity, I would make it in color. Yeah.
Hi. So we spoke about the importance of regional cinema, and Chandan, in fact, mentioned the importance of films in different dialects. So I think thanks to OTT platforms and the advantage of subtitles, we are increasingly having more and more people watch regional cinema and appreciate it for what it is. But at the same time, there are certain films or films in certain languages that are creating greater waves in mainstream cinema as opposed to some others. Maybe Rajasthani, as you mentioned, is more in a more nascent stage. So how do you think we can bridge this gap better, where films from all other regions or relatively underrepresented regional languages also get wider attention?
I think that's a great question, and this is something that I'm still also figuring out as I enter into the industry and my more professional space of career. But I feel like the gap is more in terms of producers come interested, collaborating with people from like unrepresented states or who are still in the early stages. But apart from that, I feel like festivals are a big platform for filmmakers like us. Like IFFI has given this great platform for me, and I think many people, and that creates an awareness for my own people at back home. They get a chance to, okay, if we make a film, there are spaces where we can present it and people are willing to see it. So that is one of the domains, and the other that I feel is now that stage is where we have a local OTT platform as well. And lastly, I think theaters are the prime, like, no, nothing can beat theaters, right? If your film gets released. And I think if we can have distributors who are interested in distributing regional films or regional people, at the moment, I'm not sure if distributors from Rajasthan are willing to distribute films that are made in, because we don't have that audience, but someone has to get started. And I think the support comes from people who are already established, who encourage filmmakers like us or other people, I think that's a first step, and from that, I think it'll go great. Yeah.
Thank you. Then both of you have got a clear academic training in creativity. Rahul is from London Film Academy, and Chandan is from National Institute of Design. Do you think this structured syllabuses, academic modules, is helping in your creativity or in understanding this work better?
Definitely, it brings in a lot of experience. I mean, that you get to learn the basics from it. But to really make a film, I think one should get on the practical side of it, the industry. Because I made my first film after graduating from LFA, but understood the industry in a very different way. So I was not able to make an impact initially. Then I had to study myself, watch many films. It's self-taught in a way. So it helps, but you have to get into the industry too. Yeah.
Chandan, I am sure you also will have a perspective on this, especially because your academic project Albalo Jaipur has traveled across many festivals.
So, I mean, my previous, like, I did my undergraduation in multimedia and animation, and that was also part of various festivals. But I think the way any academic education shapes you is it gets you an exposure of different kinds of works that exist. And that really helps you in discovering your own voice of what really feels like to you, and you understand that okay, there are different kind of works and people like to watch different kind of works, and there are like different domains where you can execute it. That way academic knowledge helps a lot, but apart from that, in terms of your experience, that only teaches you filmmaking. I think nothing can, being on set or being on field, nothing can take that away.
Thank you. Any more questions? So we will conclude this press conference. Can we have a photo op?
Sure.